that day. And we started asking you questions, and you were throwing haymakers, Dale. And I'm thinking to myself, this is kind of newsworthy. And you were quite candid. And you said a few things. If I recall, Dale, you said, I'm done defending my party. They've attacked the machinations of the elections. I used to think this was about things like voter fraud, but they haven't shown any evidence thereof. And they continue to attack the ability of the average citizen to vote, really for political gain. And I paraphrased, Dale, but you said many of those things, and it was newsworthy. And we called a journalist friend of ours over at the Cap Times, and he wrote it up. And the next morning, Think Progress lifted it up. And by that afternoon, it's on MSNBC. And by that evening, John Nichols got the interview with Rachel Maddow. Your words drove John Nichols' fame.
Well, there's
and not ours.
Well, John Nichols is John Nichols. He's quite a talent.
He is.
And I'm proud to be associated. Yes. And I'm a guy who grew up in Madison delivering the Capital Times. Did you know that?
Really?
And at Sunday at noon, my mother made the best fried chicken you can imagine. And our whole family, my brothers and sisters, my dad and mom sat at the kitchen table, and we listened to Hello, Wisconsin with William T. Evue. Now that just shows you I am turning 70 this year.
Now that was on WIBA. The Cap Times, Paul Fanlin was reminiscing about the story of the fact that actually the Cap Times originated WIBA.
Yes,
and
I read the editorial.
And, much has changed, Dale.
Yeah.
Much has changed.
Well, the Capital Times has changed. There's been a couple of strikes and, Madison newspapers. But, that spirit.
I meant more with WIBA, but please continue.
Well, yeah, I'm going to let that go. We don't want to promote anybody else. But, the spirit of thinking, of ideas permeates Madison. I don't think it's ever going to go away. And I've had people here that I've had incredible political wars, never personal, just politics. And at the same time, we became friends. And one of the greatest things that ever happened to me when I left, Paul Soglin gave me the key to the city.
Mayor McGrumpy Pants?
It really meant something to me because he's a serious guy, whether you agreed with him or not. What he said is, Dale, you're the only Republican in the legislature that would sit down and actually listen to me. And I said, Paul, this community is driving the economy of Wisconsin. And why would anybody want to do anything but spur it on? And it just drove me crazy when I listened to my colleagues, whatever they could do to hurt Madison. I thought that is just sick. And so we were good partners. I enjoyed working with him, and, a lot of what he wanted to envision for the city and keep the center part of the city vital is something I could certainly embrace. And, even though I'm a Republican, still,
do you still call yourself one, Dale?
I was going to say, did you recognize this party anymore?
I stepped
Dale?
in it. No, I don't recognize it anymore. I'm just a grumpy enough guy that I'm going to be around in order to remind people that once upon a time, Republicans believed in actually governing, believed in big ideas, and cared about the environment, education, the economy, the elderly, and I think that we shouldn't lose that. But I'll tell you, I'm voting pretty independent now. We desperately have a stranglehold in our midst, in our politics, by political parties who won't listen to each other. And again, coming back to civic media, you're the forum. And in rural America, where people feel forgotten, this is just a shot in the arm, an opportunity to re-find our voice, to be a part of what's going on in this state. And I find that very, very stimulating. And you guys were the visionaries that sat down and said something could be done. And I want to say one other thing here. I know I'm rambling on.
Please do, Senator. I like when you ramble in a complimentary fashion.
Crudy, I told you before we came on the air, I first liked you in the role of a serious journalist. You were very good. You were respectful. You played by the rules that the journalistic community, that little dance we do with each other, the politicians and newsmakers. or in news reporters. And I really respected that when it was done well. I just didn't realize you were as funny as you were. And now I'm sort of torn between these two opposite polar, crudy.
Torn between two lovers.
Yeah, or something.
It's because I got an angel on one shoulder, but I got Dom on the other.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and I can remember you and your wife coming into the office and talking about your family and very personal things. And that's what really drove me to be a legislator in the first place, was helping people. And, where I come from, the people are most important. The everyday people who make the world go round, who get up and know they have a job to do and they're going to get something done. It always bothered me that the political process did a very poor job of mirroring that work ethic and that focus on improvement for the community, for everyone.
Well, Dale, you make an interesting point. I came and lobbied you many years ago, about 16 years ago. My son's now a college freshman in Edgewood, and he was a little shaver. He was still in diapers. We came to your office under somewhat false pretense. My father-in-law is a constituent of yours at that time. I said I was. But Dale, you took and gave me and were generous with your time, and you listened to me and I listened to you, I feel like. And we didn't see everything eye to eye, but I did certainly respect that. And I try to have respectful conversations with lots of people who don't think like me, because very few people are super cool like me, Dale. It's hard to check all the boxes. So let me ask you, when you're out there with your friends, and what's changed since Trump had changed, something changed, but is it coming back, Dale? Do you get a sense that people are perhaps, if not moving beyond Trump, at least are open-minded to the concept that neighbors are neighbors and friends are friends?
Well, I wouldn't say it's come back in a big way, but I can see little green shoots everywhere. And unfortunately, there are far too many people who come up to me and want to sell crazy. And in the words of Jack Nicholson, I just say, look, if you're selling crazy, go somewhere else. I'm all filled up. I just don't need it anymore. Right. And, it's as polite and with a little humor that I can be as I, try to tell people, look, that this isn't what I'm interested in. And, please go someplace else.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That is our friend Dale Schultz, Republican, former Republican. I'm not sure, more independent these days. Dale, thanks for coming around again. The news, I'm wondering, in the smaller communities where you go and the people you meet, where do they digest the news? Where do they get the news? When people come up to you with the crazy, where is that coming from, Dale?
Well, I think in the past it's been from talk radio, which has been, getting crazier and crazier. I don't know how to say it any other way. And all of a sudden there's a new kid in town, a new sheriff in town. And I think people are hungry to hear a different point of view, a place where they feel like folks can actually listen to each other, have real discussions about current topical events. And yes, that's civic media. There's no doubt about it. And as I said, everywhere I go, people are talking about you. And I love that fact because, in Richland Center, you guys have done a great job of carrying our story about our little campus. Access to higher education in one of the poorest counties of the state is a big issue. And you've given it voice, and it's going to be a big issue in more small communities around the state shortly. And that's something that I think you can play a huge role in the communities you're starting to represent around the state.
Well, Dale, hopefully you know Bill from Muscadet. He and I agree, although he's very conservative. He and I agree. Should the taxpayers, Dale, and we're sneaking off the break, but should we, the taxpayers, be subsidizing future maintenance on the Milwaukee Brewers Stadium to the tune of $300 million?
Well, you're talking to a guy who voted for the Packers, who voted for the Brewers. But you know what? My attitude was, all I want is to be listened to. That means I have to listen to these other people, and those are important things to them. So I'm going to listen. And you know what? I brought home plenty of bacon for Southwestern Wisconsin. And you know what? That's what happens when friends listen to each other, care about each other. We find a way to work it out and make sure everybody walks away with a smile on their face.
As your local brewer station in Richland Center, I agree, Dale. Come back. More Devil's Advocates with former Senator Dale Schultz, our friend.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Today, I made a mental note. It was 1:09 Central Time when I found out Ron Johnson was a conspirator in a coup, a traitor to the Constitution, and Ron's been something of an apologist. You know, they seem real friendly. Well, maybe to you, Ron, because you were on the inside of the coup, and I've never made that accusation prior to today. So let's play it for the people.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
What is dedication?
People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike and you didn't? I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Thank you for listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Now join us anytime by finding and following our Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram pages. You'll also find social media links for your favorite shows and hosts on our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Clear skies tonight with a low of 18. Southwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 38. Lows dip down to about 28. Tomorrow night, overcast. Cloudy skies expected Sunday with daytime highs approaching 41. 36, chance of snow Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 23 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Check us out on the socials at Devil Radio. Find us on Facebook at the Devil's Advocates Radio, on the podcast over at civicmedia.us. Click on the shows tab and look for the Devil's Advocates.
Tom, I got a good friend here with me. He is Dale Schultz, former Republican senator, twice elected majority leader. We've had a long relationship. I've known you for at least 16 years, Dale, and you've been a friend of the show for going on a decade. So, you know, the fact you keep coming back, I really got to question what's wrong with you, sir.
Right,
but we appreciate you doing
sir.
so.
It's not in the water, I assure you. We have very good water in Richland Center, and I have a brand new well at the farm, so there's no toxic chemicals.
It's not the PFAS, not yet.
Not yet.
Dale, let's talk about the elective cycle. Obviously, we're right back in an elective cycle, and I don't mean the 2024 presidential. I mean the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And Dale, guys like me put a lot of stock in the fact that with a more balanced court, or perhaps a liberal court, however you want to call it, that some of the things like fair maps could be revisited through lawsuits. And I really want that to happen, Dale. I'd love to see recasting of the maps. What's your opinion? What are people telling you? Do they even know this race is going on right now? Primary day on Tuesday.
I think people do know. I've already voted, just so you know. My wife has already voted. Tim Cullen, former Senator Tim Cullen, a former majority leader himself, and I spent, 6 or 7 years going around this state talking about this issue, literally talking to somewhere between 100 and 200 groups at our own expense, never accepting an honorarium, but doing it because democracy is something we believed in. And there's something wrong when the politicians pick their voters and the voters aren't picking their politicians. And you know what? When we started, nobody knew what gerrymandering was. We'd have to explain it to people. We'd give them a history lesson. But now I'm so proud of the fact that Democrats, of course, are fired up about this issue. Independents are, a majority of them want to get rid of gerrymandering, and even a majority of Republicans do. It's time to get it done. You know, when it comes to the courts, there's a lot of hypocrisy. We've seen it on both sides, but I think the choice is clear. If you want to do something about gerrymandering, Janet Protasewicz is the person to vote for. I believe that with her on the court, we will do something about that. We will strike a blow for democracy that will literally be heard around the world. And I'm excited about it. And I'm doing everything I can to help her. I really don't like the partisanship we've seen in the court. I always thought in the past that what we want are fair-minded people there. One of the things I'm most proud of about Richland County is when our local judge, Ed Lineweber, was running for the Court of Appeals, all of the Republicans, all of the Democrats who are active got together, opened a headquarters to support this man who, as a DA, was a Republican, but who everybody had faith in. He didn't make it, unfortunately, but you know what? It taught me a very valuable lesson about what we have in common. And we could have that in common again if we take the process away from the inmates.
Dale, not only the Wisconsin Supreme Court primaries, but also primaries for Wisconsin's Senate District number 8. That's my district, Dale. And you talked about democracy being something you can believe in. Well, the two of the main Republicans, Janelle Brangen and Dan Knodel, both signed letters on January 5th to the vice president to delay certification because there's evidence of X, Y, or Z. Of course, there was none. There was no election tampering. There was no steal. It calls their credibility and judgment into question. And then we see the news as it continues to come out. Fox News, the Dominion lawsuit, a bunch of the text back and forth between the host and what they said privately did not match what they were telling people publicly. Again, a credibility problem. But when you have, elected officials, as they stand right now, want to go from a state legislature to the Senate, who believe in these things and peddle these things and want to represent me in the 8th, I don't believe they have the credibility. Dale, I want to get your sense as someone who believes in democracy.
Well, I have to tell you that it's appalling when that's the choice that people have. But there is another choice over there, and I think that's the good news. You know what? It's sad when we have to remind ourselves that the patriot was right when he or she said many years ago that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. But it's a reality. We're flawed individuals. We all know that, and if we keep trying to plug in, speak the truth, get at the truth, in the end, we're going to create a more perfect process, a more perfect union, and we just have to commit ourselves to doing that. No great social change in this country has ever come about without committed individuals who cared, who got out in front, who took the heat and risked something. And I think that we're going to see that in that race in your home district, but we're going to see it play out in the next election. But just imagine with me for a second, if we had a court that immediately threw out the plan that we have in Wisconsin and said, no, we're going to let the people come up with a plan, or we'll draw a plan based on criteria that makes sense, that people can buy into. And then people will have to say, I'm going to have to compete on the basis of ideas. Richland Center had the chairman of the Republican Party, Andrew Hitt, that was mixed up in all this, and it grieves me. And I know it bothers Todd that our hometown would be mixed up in it. But I'm in favor of every single one of those false electors being handed a prison sentence, because any way you cut it, that's treason.
I'm with you, brother.
And you know what? I would be saying that if it was a Democrat. For those of us who love liberty, who love democracy, we have to draw a line, and that's where I draw it. We cannot tolerate it. Otherwise, it just becomes practice.
Yeah. I can't wait, Dale, because we're going to make a big announcement coming up next. I got my partner from Civic Media, CEO Sage Weil. And that third CD, the fact that you are represented currently by an insurrectionist in Derek Van Orden, we're going to do something about that, Dale. I feel confident. This announcement will help address what ails the third CD of the great state of Wisconsin. But man, it's always great to see you, Dale. Thanks for making a stop down to the studio. Thank you, Dale Schultz.
My pleasure. Thank you much, and all the best in the future. And I'm going to hang around the station and listen for that big announcement.
Thanks for listening to your local Civic Media radio station. Learn more on our website, civicmedia.us.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Ohio officials, along with the EPA, say air and water testing shows there's no contamination due to the chemical train derailment in East Palestine 2 weeks ago. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says there are 20 air quality monitors throughout the town.
These monitors are moved around, and they will continue to be moved around the community.
Vice President Kamala Harris is in Germany for a security conference and meeting with German and French leaders on supporting Ukraine against Russian attacks. It comes ahead of President Biden's trip to Poland next week to mark 1 year since Russia invaded Ukraine. U.S. officials announced Navy crews successfully retrieved the technology bay attached to the China balloon shot down this month off the coast of South Carolina. The remnants are now headed to the FBI to be examined. In Washington, D.C., signs of buds developing on the famed cherry trees at the tidal basin and spring-like temperatures in the Northeast, but a cold front that follows will usher in freezing temperatures this weekend. This is ABC News.
Your mornings from the Devil's Advocates to the Cripes Cast with Charlie Barron.
You want a hot dog? You're not invited to my cookout. That's for guests aren't sure. We're doing brats.
This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Authorities in southeast Wisconsin blame yesterday's snowstorm for a 30-car pileup on Interstate 41 near the Washington-Dodge County line. 3 people were hurt, but they're all expected to pull through. It took 7 hours to clean up the mess. Republican state lawmakers say they'll start from scratch and draft their own state budget rather than work on what Governor Evers proposed this week.
Certainly the budget's going to look different for where it ends the process from where it started. But, certainly there's going to be areas of compromise and consensus.
That's Senator Andre Jacques of De Pere. The budget is now in the hands of the Joint Finance Committee. In sports, the Bucks beat Chicago last night 112-100. Milwaukee's 12-game winning streak is the longest in the NBA this season. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Wisconsin's spring primary election is Tuesday, February 21st, and your local Civic Media radio station will be tracking the results.
Special live coverage starts at 7 p.m., and News Director Terry Bell, with a team of political experts, will be following which candidates, both local and in the state Supreme Court race, move on to April.
Spring primary election coverage live, Tuesday, February 21st, starting at 7, here on your local Civic Media radio station, streaming on the Civic Media app.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
Catch Up North News Radio with Pat Kreitlow at its brand new time, 6 to 8 a.m. weekdays.
The city of Shanghai started administering an inhalable COVID-19 vaccine. I hear a lot of you saying the same thing I had in my head. I don't know about that.
As long as they're not just crop dusting everyone.
Crop dusting, that's exactly what I think people would be fearful of. I would not trust the Chinese government. I would trust people who really know about inhaling something and the good that it does you. Of course, I'm talking about Daun and Crute.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes!
There's a forest closer than you think. Find a park or forest near you and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by USDA Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. Making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Fine guests here to the end. We've got Maggie, Daun coming soon. We just We thank Dale Schultz for coming in. Always great to have the sender.
Yeah, Dale's
I
a
don't.
cool cat.
He signed the door here in Madison, the Mad Radio door here in the Solidarity Realty Studios. And Dom, I've been welcomed and joined right now by Sage Weil. He is the CEO of Civic Media. And I've been teasing a big announcement, Sage, and now is your time, man. The world wants to hear about this Death Star you've been assembling.
You're going to have to explain this Death Star thing to me, because I feel like that's not quite the right metaphor for it.
No.
I love this metaphor.
Is it Alderaan or is it Endor? I mean, he gets his Star Wars
Alderaan.
metaphor.
So clearly he hasn't watched enough Star Wars. We've established that.
I'm not like a super Star Wars geek, but I like the concept of the Death Star, not from the perception that we're the bad guys, but as far as I'm concerned, if right-wing talk radio thinks that we're the bad guys, I could live with being Darth Vader. I could live with that. So anyways, you can call it what you will, Sage. What would you call this assemblage of stations other than the Civic Media Network?
A warm blanket, maybe? I don't know.
A warm blanket? Come on, man.
I might not be in marketing. It might be not my strong suit.
There's got to be a happy medium between Death Star and Grandma's Afghan.
Yeah, but did Grandma make it? Because then it's really, really good.
Yeah.
So Sage Weil, CEO of Civic Media. Sage, you've been on the air a couple times with us prior, but I feel like today is a celebratory day for Civic Media, and it is let's call it the achievement of the network, and it's a big deal day. So tell us what the big deal is.
Yeah, it is a big day. Today we have announced and finally filed with the FCC one of the last deals for Wisconsin, which is purchasing 3 additional radio stations in 3 key markets: Racine, Kenosha, Eau Claire, and La Crosse.
Buddy, you're getting more than 3.
Yes. Well, the reality is that there are actually 2 signals in Eau Claire, because it's not just an FM, it's an HD FM with an HD2 side channel and a fantastic translator. So we're very excited about having effectively 2 Eau Claire stations. We're also getting another translator in Oshkosh that we're going to pair with WVXN. So we're going to have an Appleton Oshkosh pair there. And in Racine, Kenosha, there are, in addition to the AM, there are 2 translators covering Racine and Kenosha with FM signals. And we're getting the Packers in that market, which is
nice.
Yes.
And what about La Crosse, my old college stomping grounds, man?
Yes, that's the one that has been like needling at you since we started this 9 months ago. How are we going to get into La Crosse?
Was it only 9 months? Who's counting, Sage?
Like, Kurt, you spent all that time trying to get out of La Crosse, and now you're going back in.
He's been dreaming and reminiscing and trying to, yep.
Well, I honestly, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Sage, but I don't even think you're close to talking about the magnitude of the impact of what it's not. It's like 4 stations in Eau Claire. It's 2 analog FMs, 2 HD FMs. You're going to have the only HD in the Eau Claire Valley, dude. You're going to own the Eau Claire Valley. That's a big deal.
It is very exciting.
Where's Jeannie? I hope Jeannie's listening.
Jeannie,
somewhere.
I know Jeannie's. The phone is going to light up here any minute. She's going to call in. And
do you know how long I've been dying to tell Jeannie that we're coming to Eau Claire?
Yes. The number of times I've like heard you hesitate on the air and like hold yourself back. I feel like the real triumph here is for you, because you're the one who negotiated this deal, and it was a long and drawn out conversation.
The real accomplishment was keeping the secret. We've been describing this transaction, and this has literally been going on since June of 2022. And I've teased, I wish I was billing by the hour on this one, because I've got over 44 hours of FaceTime.
But who's counting?
I'm counting. This guy's counting.
The guy doing the FaceTime, he's the guy counting.
Dave Magnum, the seller, Dave Magnum. I gotta grudgingly admit, I've really grown to like this guy. We've spent so many hours together. I teased. I spent less time with my future wife, dating her, whining her, and dining her, than I did with Dave Magnum. And I had to ask less times. My wife and I married in 3 months. Dave Magnum and I have been courting for over 7.
Plays hard to get.
Well, it's all worth it if you can consummate at the end.
That's right. That's right. Eau Claire, La Crosse, and Kenosha and Racine. Do we know what's the call letters in La Crosse?
In La Crosse, it's WLXR, although we're going to change that because he wants to retain those call signs. I think we should go back to the original call letters from the station when it was created, but who knows?
Here's what I would suggest, though. It's going to be the Eagle. We would retain the branding of the Eagle for anyone that's been in La Crosse. They're the Eagles. It's the Eagle, Dom. The Eagle, 1490 AM.
We're gonna have to go to the Eagles nest, man. It's been a while.
I know. We were there when Joe Biden came to town and was really late, and Joe Biden was also at the Eagles nest, and we were all supposed to be at the Joe Biden rally. But La Crosse, Eau Claire, 93.5 FM.
WCFW, although right now it has the call letters WEZY. That was Dave Magnum. He's doing some easy listening or something, but we're going to revert back to the historic call letters CFW for Chippewa Falls. It's going to be the only Chippewa Falls station that's sort of claiming that community. So we're excited about that.
And our own Pat Kreitlow resides on Lake Wissota in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. You know how long I've been keeping the secret from Pat Kreitlow. Pat, guess what? We got you a radio station, fella. So that's very exciting. And I drove that 93.5 signal. And I know I'm just like a geek about this stuff, Sage, but I could hear that signal all the way to Menominee, Wisconsin. That's going to be the signal that carries the Devil's Advocates, carries the talk lineup, the talk format. That is an enormous, that will be the crown jewel of all the talkers we have, will it not?
I think so. It's exciting.
I'm very excited.
I
wish I could tell that you were more excited, Sage. You look.
I need to work on my emoting skills. I think.
The one that goes to Menominee? What was the call letters for that one? I'm sorry.
That is the
WCFW.
side channel, but WCFW, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Gotcha.
We will revert to the original call signs.
So that's the only HD FM in the market. And so the primary signal is a huge 25 kilowatt FM that's going to carry a music format of some sort to be determined. And the HD2 side channel will be talk, and it'll be rebroadcast on whatever that frequency was that you just told me.
93.5 FM.
There we go. Yeah. Yep.
Let me just tell you, it kicks ass. Now I've heard it. It is so sweet. It is so beautiful. I can't wait. What are we thinking? Till operational control.
Yes, great question.
Right.
When does this
So
actually
so this
switch
is the
on?
thing to keep in mind. So it's 45 to 60 days for the FCC to bless the transaction, and hopefully we'll close shortly after that. So about 2 months, I would say, unless something comes
original
up.
programming right now continues to be played by the previous owner until
Yes,
the transaction is completed, and then you can switch formats.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And we talked about La Crosse. That's where Dom and I went to college, Sage, and we talked about Eau Claire. It's going to be glorious, Jeannie. You're going to love us so much up there. Played out on a beautiful HD signal, the only one in the entire Eau Claire Valley. And I would also point out that the Hayward station soon to come back on the air through a lot of your hard work. Well, the engineer's hard work and your investment. But I understand the 5 kilowatt transmitter is going to ship on the 27th.
Yep.
So hoping to get that one on the air shortly after the Birkebeiner, right?
Yes. Yeah. We've got the new transmitters coming, and we have to build a new tuning cabinet, and there's some work to do on the tower. There's some repairs and some upgrades to be had there, but hopefully in a, I don't know exactly. I'm not going to make any promises about that.
So does this cover now, Sage Weil, CEO, Civic Media, does this now cover Wisconsin? I mean, to the degree that the deal's now done in Wisconsin, where do we stand?
I mean, I'm looking at the map right now, and it's pretty satisfying. If you go look at our press release on the website, there's a link when it says.
Can I say satisfying in the same way that the old 96er is satisfying, man? It is. We've stuffed this state full of radio greatness. It's quite satisfying.
It's pretty
to
awesome.
some.
Yeah, we still have a
the
few
more
holes,
emotive
but
of the
they're pretty
panel.
small. Yeah, almost anywhere in the state you can hear one of our signals. I would say 95% of the population can hear us, and everyone can stream us on the Civic Media app.
And of course, we've got these fine talents like Gilbert Brown under the helmet with the Gravedigger, and he's playing out Mondays, but he plays out statewide. But I can't wait with this new Packer affiliate, WRJN. 1400 AM. You know what, Dom? Milwaukee's going to start listening to the Packers on the AM dial again. We will be Milwaukee's AM Packer station. And if you live down in Racine and Kenosha, 99.9 FM in Racine, 98.1 FM Kenosha, all the way down to like Waukegan, Illinois, baby. We are your Packer station. I know iHeart's got that big FM, but we got the South Side, baby. I am so excited to compete for the Packers audience in the Milwaukee Metro.
So the programming on these new stations, because of the different side channels and so forth, is it going to be music? Is it going to be, how much of it is going to be talk? I mean, because of course I'm concerned about the talk, right? I get the hometown. You got to do the local sports, get people involved. If there's existing business, presumably on these stations. But where is the talk? What are specifically the talks going to be?
Yeah, so in La Crosse and Racine, those are going to be talk stations, and the side channel in Eau Claire is going to be talk, and then the primary in Eau Claire is going to be music.
The 93.5 will be your talker. It's glorious, Tom. Trust me, in Eau Claire.
Eau Claire.
It's the best one of the whole state. It will be the best talk radio station, to my opinion, in the entire state. Sage, if we could. Let's indulge a caller. Jeannie from Eau Claire. Jeannie, I've been keeping a secret from you for like 7 months, sister. We're bringing radio to the Eau Claire Valley just for you.
Yahoo! I am so excited. I almost peed my pants. How you like that one? This is so great. Thank you so much, Sage. You are my hero. Oh, Lord, we need you so bad, and my prayers have been answered. Thank you so much, guys. This would be the greatest thing in the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I better hang up. Thank you.
Well, Jeannie, you're very welcome.
Go use the restroom, Jeannie. She sounds quite emotive.
And that's amazing, and we appreciate. Jeannie's been calling for years. We've known Jeannie. We've been doing the show for a long, long time, and we've heard this over and over again from different callers in different places, hell, in different states. All we get is this, or all we get is that. So for Civic Media to come up for you guys to put this plan together, and it's one thing to throw something down on paper, then another thing to go execute. You know what I mean? And to have that happen, especially kind of putting the cherry on top with these last couple, it's a well done, great job, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Yeah, congratulations, Save. This is quite a big deal. I don't. We're in this forest sometimes, and I think we fail to step back from 30,000 feet and realize no one's ever networked the state of Wisconsin before. You did that, sir.
It's very exciting, and I think it's a big responsibility. I think it's one thing to go buy a bunch of radio stations, and it's another to actually run them and to stay true to our mission to deliver relevant local hometown content. So
that sounds like
I feel like the work is just beginning.
Oh man, I don't want to hear about the work part. That's like Monday's problem. It's the Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates. We'll bring him back. He's Sage Weil. He is the CEO of Civic Media, making some big announcements on the airwaves today. The culmination, the completion of the network, the build out of I like to call it the Death Star, the warm fuzzy Afghan. Mom, Grandma's got on the bed, and Sage threw it to embrace you all in this sweet talk that is
warm fuzzies.
Warm fuzzies.
Yes.
Warm fuzzies.
The warm fuzzies.
Yeah. Come back with us. We'll take your warm fuzzies. If you got a comment, perhaps for Civic Media CEO Sage Weil, 844-967-2789. Come back with us before I blow up Alderaan.
Good luck. We're all counting on you.
I'm 54, so it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save even in your 50s can really make a difference. At aceyourretirement.org, in just 3 minutes, you'll get a free personalized retirement plan. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now for your crudités at 844-967-2789.
I thought they were crudy takes.
Crudy's takes. See, man, it all comes back around to Sports Talk Live.
Something like that.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
You know what I mean?
Listen Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for the Devil's Advocates radio show.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I'm 54, so it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save even in your 50s can really make a difference. At aceyourretirement.org, in just 3 minutes, you'll get a free personalized retirement plan. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. 18 tonight, under clear skies, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. A blend of clouds and sun tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 38. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow night, lows dip down to about 28. Low 40s Sunday, mid 30s Monday, with a chance for snow. A dusting of snow Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 23 degrees.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open at 844-967-2789.
I'm Darth Vader, and I'm here with Sage Weil, CEO of Civic Media.
Sage Palpatine?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and watch the old Star Wars movies. It's been a long time, but Sage, I like to kid our let's call them our inferior righty-whitey talk radio opponents that we've now built a Death Star, because I always thought that the overwhelming it's just when you got 81 right-wing talk radio stations in the state of Wisconsin, and they can change the narrative, they can move the narrative, they can lie about the outcome of an election, and they can rile up an electorate and turn neighbor against neighbor. I always thought that that was a evil thing, this network of right-wing talk radio stations. But they're not really network. They're all these independent, awful sort of entities.
Well, it's mostly syndicated content, right? Most of the programming is coming. I mean, there's some local hosts, but most of it's it's the Glenn Becks and the whatevers. I don't know, Dan Bongino.
Yeah, there's some of those, and then there's the Dan O'Donnells and the Vicky McKennas and the Mark Bellings and the Jerry Baders and Average Joes. I mean, they're all around the state of Wisconsin. Every town has their god-awful righty-whitey talker, and now they got the Devil's Advocates and Afternoon Drive.
You're welcome.
Sage, there are so many people that want to throw an opinion out there right now. Let's get to some of our fair audience. If you got a question for Civic Media CEO Sage Weil, 844-967-2789. But hold on, we're jammed. Let's go to a Hoosier from, well, I guess from Indiana. Beth, welcome. A couple of Hoosiers stacked up. How you doing, Beth?
Hi there, guys. I haven't talked to you guys since the D-Bag of the Year award.
Don't bring that up around Sage. He might not be aware. But Beth, say hi to Sage. Let's talk to Sage.
The Civic Awards that you were handing out, I mean. That's what I meant to say.
Yes, the Civic Awards.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Yes, hi, Sage. I want to, as I've said to you guys before, I am so happy that you guys are flooding your very important state with new radio stations that tell the truth. And it's exactly what we need other investors and people that can in other parts of the Midwest and in the country. But I wanted to make one suggestion to you guys. You know what would be? You guys have the sense of humor and the creativity as well as a business sense to maybe start a show that would go nationwide, because we really need Spanish language progressive radio. And if you guys found somebody really fun in Milwaukee or somewhere to do this, it could go nationwide. You know what I mean? And we really, really need that. So I'll take your comments if you want, but I think it's a good idea.
Well, excellent idea, Beth. If only we could teach Daun to speak Spanish.
And especially given the recent inroads that the Republicans have made with the community, I think certainly an option, a different voice, a different perspective would definitely be something that would fill some holes.
Let's get a few more callers. Who's your Bob? Who's your mama, Bob? Welcome. Say hi to Sage Weil, CEO of Civic Media.
Hello, Sage. Hello, boys.
Hey.
Howdy, Bob.
Okay, question about this Racine-Kenosha signal.
Yes, sir.
How far south do you want to go with that thing?
Well, how far south can you take us, Bob? We want to go all the way, Bob.
Well, okay, I'm down in Chesterton.
Yes.
It's about 40 miles out of Chicago. I do get CPT, but they've cut you back to an hour, and they also put you on after the sundown power down.
I know, that's terrible, man. You should call them and complain.
The only way I can get you now is to stream you out of 1580.
Yeah. Well, that's a good option. All the real patriots do that,
yes.
Bob, on the Civic Media app.
That works for me, but I was just wondering if you get an AM signal that's blowing in this direction, will it get through all the way?
I don't think it's going to. Bob, it would be wishful thinking and a Hail Mary sort of weather climatic night to get through the Chicago clutter. No, I'm talking north suburbs up to effectively, let's say, I-90. City grade coverage from, like I-94 south to like Waukegan, Illinois. South of that, Bob, man, you need a bigger antenna.
Use the app, Bob.
Use the app. That's what the good people do. 844-967-2789. Steven calling in from Green Bay. That's one of our new affiliates. Hopefully listen on WGBW. Steven, say hi to Sage Weil.
Hey, Sage. I wanted to say something while you guys are all in one room. I'm very appreciative that you guys brought a station to Green Bay. I actually had to subscribe to Sirius XM to get a progressive viewpoint, and I was paying upwards of $30 a month just to have a progressive viewpoint that I could listen to. And then Tom Hartman actually told me about you guys, and I tuned in on you, and I've been listening to you ever since. All we had in Green Bay before you guys opened your radio station up here was a conservative talk format. And, it was quite nauseating to see.
Who is that mediocre Joe guy up there? We're coming for that guy, TAQ mediocre Joe.
He's exactly what he says he is. He's an average guy.
That is somehow on the radio speaking to millions.
Steven,
thousands, whatever it is. Yeah.
We don't like pedestrian radio, only the greatest shows ever. Appreciate you listening on WGBW. 97.9 FM and 1590 AM. Tell all your friends. We got more friends. See who else. L.A. Tom, he's an old friend. Say hi to Sage Weil, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys. First off, we the people are the government ultimately, and we must never forget that. Sage, thank you so much for everything you've done, being able to pick up the baton from, of course, Crudy. And Crudy, awesome job as always in terms of the vision that you had to start this whole thing off.
There's a lot of workers behind the scenes, and many of them, Tom. But I mean, lots of people made this dream, and it's still a growing dream. But lots of people making this come true.
Absolutely. I'm originally from Durand, Wisconsin, Sage, and I'll tell you what. Years ago, when I went back to my parents, because I live in Los Angeles. All they had on the TV itself was just Fox. And of course, all they have on radio is right-wing radio. So I am really, really excited for people like Jeannie and my family and farmers out there that are milking cows and people throughout the dairy land that they're actually able to get a point of view that may be more in the FDR direction, more for the working folk and more for the middle-class people. So just want to say thank you very much. And the truth, the truth that this is about, a normal family cannot make it on $60,000 a year anymore.
Tom, got to cut you short on
We
time.
appreciate it.
Sage Weil, CEO of Civic Media. He's completed the warm, fuzzy blanketing of the state of Wisconsin. Thank you, Sage. More Devil's Advocates, the happier happy hour. It rolls on.
Thanks, Sage.
All right. Thanks.
Looking for a new pair of glasses? Ula Eyewear has you covered. As one of Madison's only local, independent, and family-owned eyewear stores, Ula has been connecting people with fun, unique, and stylish frames for nearly 25 years. With glasses, readers, and sunglasses for customers of all ages, you'll find a variety of frames to fit your style and price points to fit your lifestyle. So don't wait. Head to Ula Eyewear now at Hilldale Shopping Center and find your pair of glasses. Ula Eyewear, uniquely you.
You are listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app too? And if you miss a show or game, find it wherever you get your podcasts or on our website, civicmedia.us.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. Federal prosecutors announcing they've filed hate crime charges against a suspect arrested for shooting 2 Jewish men in separate attacks outside synagogues this week. U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada identified the suspect as 28-year-old Jamie Tran. In court filings, prosecutors allege Tran targeted the men because of their religion.
Because the complaint contains allegations that Tran attempted to murder the 2 victims, he faces a statutory maximum sentence of life imprisonment.
2 victims recovering from their injuries. In Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine saying agencies are still testing air and water after that hazardous chemical train derailment in East Palestine just over 2 weeks ago. He says air and water samples are free from contaminants due to the train derailment. Limited flights set to resume tomorrow at JFK's International Terminal 1 following 2 days of power outages. Flights from that terminal were diverted to other gates due to the outage. This is ABC News. The family of Tyree Nichols says it is a step closer to justice after the former Memphis police officers were formally charged with his murders in court today.
After the 5 former Memphis police officers pled not guilty to criminal charges in the death of Tyree Nichols last month, the family of the 29-year-old told reporters,
"It's a glorious day. This is the beginning of the process."
Nichols' stepfather Rodney Wells, his mother Rovon Wells, said of the 5 officers in court,
"They didn't even have the courage to look at me in my face after what they did to my son."
All 5 remain free on bond. The next hearing is scheduled for May 1st. Brian Clark, ABC News.
International Olympic Committee considering letting athletes from Russia and Belarus compete in the 2024 Paris Olympics. EU lawmakers are against that. Springing up sooner this year in Washington. Cherry blossoms already budding. Forecasters say it's at least 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Andy Field, ABC News.
On air at 92.7 megahertz frequency modulation and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
Your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected on the Civic Media Network, civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair. Here's what you need to know. The Western Wisconsin nurse accused of cutting off a dying patient's foot appeared in court yesterday. Mary Brown pleaded not guilty to charges of mayhem and physical abuse of an elderly person. Last May, witnesses said Brown removed the victim's right foot, which had become necrotic from severe frostbite. She did not have a doctor's permission, and the patient did not request it. Brown said she did it to make the man more comfortable. The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile's catalytic converter was stolen during a weekend appearance in Las Vegas. Thieves have been targeting vehicles' catalytic converters over the past few years because they contain rhodium, which is nearly 10 times as valuable as gold. KLAS TV reporting the vehicle was towed to a repair shop with a temporary catalytic converter installed. I'm Jane Matnair. This is Civic Media News.
Think you'd like working with us at Civic Media? We're having fun and moving fast to preserve hometown radio across Wisconsin. If you have the right skills to join our team, let's talk. Civic Media is a proud equal opportunity employer committed to diversity and inclusion, along with the growth and development of all current and future employees. If you're interested or are part of an organization who wants to know more, go to our website, civicmedia.us, and click on the Careers tab.
Madison liberals want to take over the Wisconsin Supreme Court to impose their radical agenda on us. Now more than ever, we need a proven conservative on the Supreme Court with a record of results. Wisconsin needs conservative Justice Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly is a constitutional conservative who will always protect our rights and freedoms. That's why he cast the deciding vote to end the COVID lockdowns of our schools and businesses. Sheriffs across Wisconsin have endorsed Dan Kelly because he has a record of enforcing the rule of law. One vote is the difference between a conservative or liberal majority on Wisconsin's Supreme Court. That's why Dan Kelly needs your vote. On February 21st, stop a liberal takeover of the court. Vote for law and order. Vote conservative Dan Kelly for Wisconsin Supreme Court. Fair Courts America paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate's agent or committee. FairCourtsAmerica.org.
It's blurred right now.
Hey, Maggie. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Evan. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
And thanks so much for joining us.
You bet.
Awesome. All right, 50 seconds.
Super.
Of morning cannolis. Every single Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., we talk about the major stories in law, in government, and the aspiration for justice in America. Delighted to have you join, call in, and be a part of our discussion right here on the networks of Civic Media.
Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
No, go ahead. Warning. Warning. You are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday happy hour. Dom, lots of celebratory emoting going on around here.
It's a great Friday, Crudy.
Thank you to our most recent fine guest, the CEO of Civic Media, Sage Weil, my partner. Thank you, Sage. And we welcome a new fine guest, and we know you're there, callers. We'll get to you and your Friday grievances, although keep them less than harsh, man. Nobody better harsh my buzz today. I'm feeling celebratory because there were some big announcements made, and none bigger than our next guest. She's Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel Maggie Daun, our friend. Maggie, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates. Happy Friday, sister.
Hey, Maggie.
Really great to see you guys, and congratulations on Civic Media's ever-expanding reach. Loved what the callers had to say last segment about really needing to have an alternative voice on the radio waves. Boy, that couldn't be more true, because all they're spouting on Righty Whitey Radio is a bunch of freaking lies. So better bring some food. It's about time.
Don't lose this fine radio network for Sage right on the first day. Maggie, you've known me for a long time, and I think the greatest accomplishment, at least from my point of view, is the fact that I kept the secret.
Yeah, that is
7 months. I've been keeping a secret, Maggie. I can't keep.
He cannot keep secrets. Crudy in college was banned from answering the phone because he couldn't keep secrets. It's true.
I guess I'm just being a little self-congratulatory that I didn't blow it for a change. But Maggie,
you would pat yourself on the back, man. You deserve it.
I could have blown this many times over, because the tendency was there so many times.
Yet another reason why you should definitely never become a lawyer.
Well, maybe a radio lawyer, Maggie.
There you go. That would work.
Radio lawyer. And I could give out legal advice, sort of backhanded. I often do that now. I like to play a lawyer on the radio occasionally.
No, don't do that, Crudy. That's
indeed.
Maggie, Daun, I heard you playing a pundit on the radio the other day, and it was some damn fine stuff. I heard you actually talking about the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. And
Yes.
Maggie, Daun, next Tuesday is the primary. First and foremost, let me make a comment. Some seem confused on this point. You only get to vote for one candidate on the Supreme Court ballot. So when they say choose either of these two, you still only get to pick one. Now,
Yes.
I would recommend that you choose amongst Everett Mitchell and Protasewicz. Our earlier guest, I think, a little newsworthy in the fact that Dale Schultz, the twice elected former majority leader, Republican of the state of Wisconsin, I don't know if you heard, but he endorsed Protasewicz live on the air. I didn't even really think about that for more than 2 seconds, that, oh yeah, that's kind of newsworthy. That's kind of a big deal when Republicans are out endorsing the so-called liberal candidates. But Maggie, you gave a pretty damn good explanation why you're completely unimpressed with Jennifer Dorow. Let's talk about her for a minute. Tell us,
please,
why you don't think she had any sort of commendable proceedings over the Waukesha Parade trial.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite hot takes, right, of the minute, is everybody wants to hype up Jennifer Dorow. I just don't get it, okay? So there's basically two things that she gets frequently praised for, and that's her presiding over the Waukesha Parade murder trial and the sentencing there, and also as a family woman, right? I don't get either of these things, at all. So if you take the Waukesha Parade murder trial, at base, hundreds of people watched this guy kill people with indisputable intention. So if there was the easiest murder conviction to preside over as a judge, that's probably it, okay? Likewise with 6 life sentences. That is not hard from A to B to get. Now, I hear some of you out there going, but Maggie, this guy was a complete nightmare to deal with in the courtroom. Aha! Well, guess what? Nobody ever gets a complete free lunch. So I don't think she needs to get any deserved credit over the outcome of that trial, right? But the couple of wrinkles in the trial, which really would require the best of a judge, I think she failed miserably on. And those two axes are the complicating wrinkles in Mr. Brooks's trial. And the first one that he wanted to proceed pro se, right? And how did she handle that? And then further complicating that, and these issues sort of blend together a bit, is that his behavior was so disruptive that she had him removed from the courtroom, and he effectively observed the proceedings virtually. I think she's got a problem on appeal. And the reason that his removal from the courtroom, while it may be appealing to a reasonable person, like just your average everyday Joe, Jane, etc., the reason that that's problematic is that under the Fourth Amendment, as well as the Fifth and the Sixth, predominantly the Fourth, we have a right to confront the witnesses against us. And that is interpreted pretty literally. It means to be in the same room with them. This has for decades been very complex when you deal with sexual assaults or child abuse, all of these sorts of things. But that basic fundamental right in the United States has been fairly protected against incursion. And in fact, here in the state of Wisconsin, we have state statutes that address holding certain judicial proceedings virtually and say that's just fine. But they also say it's just fine unless the individual demands to be physically present during the proceeding. And if that happens, you must provide it. Now, once you combine a guy whose behavior is at best to be described as erratic with proceeding pro se without an attorney, and then removing him from the courtroom, I look at that quagmire and I say, you have some pretty good appealable issues. So here we go. You either, oh, great, she got a conviction in the face of all this complexity. Well, any judge should have gotten a conviction and any jury was going to convict that guy, one. So don't give her credit for that. And oh, by the way, the complicated stuff that she really absolutely needed to get right, I'm not quite sure that she did. And I would say there's pretty good grounds for appeal. I'll just say very briefly, I will always defend women candidates, whatever side of the political spectrum they come from, and that we shouldn't be attributing the behavior of children or what's going on in a family unit to tax female candidates. Jennifer Doro is different, and it's if it was just about her son having some problems with the law, I'd say please don't attribute that to her. It's an unfair tax that female candidates pay. But that isn't the situation here. It's very clear from records and reporting that Jennifer Doro has effectively tried to prevent her son from being held accountable for his criminal activity that has led to the death of another. And for that, we cannot laud her for her family values or her being a mother. So I don't know on what basis Jennifer Doro gets sold to the Wisconsin voting public, because I just can't see it.
Folks, that's Maggie Daun. Very candid. I like when you're candid, Maggie. Dan O'Donnell, an inferior righty-whitey talk radio product, noted our morning product around here, Pat Kreitlow, the Up North News, had Protasewicz on the show very recently. And we've heard Pat excerpt some of that interview, and Protasewicz was asked about the law schools attended by both of the conservative candidates. Ironically, the very same law school.
The Christian Broadcasting Network School of Law, rebranded as Regent University.
Hey, that's Pat Robertson's finest. Apparently, Protasewicz found, at least in the way the question was phrased, she found a little humor in their mutual admiration for Pat Robertson's law school and alumni status thereof. Now, Dan O'Donnell called her bigoted against, their shared religion, in that she's a graduate of Marquette University Law School, a Jesuit Catholic school, kind of like you are, if I remember correctly, or maybe I get your undergrad and JD confused, but I know you went to Marquette at some point. Is she being bigoted by making fun of their law school?
I mean, let's just pause and observe for a minute, and then I'll tell you why I'm basically the only one that's credible in the state of Wisconsin to level all sorts of subjective criticisms about the schools that people attended. But ain't this rich, Dan O'Donnell? You conservative snowflakes can't handle it when anybody criticizes the stupidity that underlies all of these evangelical Christian nationalist wingnut beliefs that you espouse. And here we've got two Supreme Court candidates that attended such wingnut right Christian nationalist sort of school for law school, which is just an oxymoron if there ever was one. But let's just take a pause here and just talk about the academic credibility of the schools that these folks attended, all four candidates. We've got two that went to the wacky Pat Robertson wingnut conservative nationalist law school.
Maggie, they do
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
At the Regent University, the attendees and alumni have a 40% bar passage rate.
I mean, is the law school even accredited? I think it might be. But, I've never even seen it on like a top 250 law school list. So you've got that. Then you've got Judge Protasewicz that attended Marquette University Law School and Judge Mitchell who attended Wisconsin Law School. So I went to Marquette for undergrad and my first graduate degree in mathematical economics. And then I went to Wisconsin for law school. My upbringing, it was from a child of Milwaukee public schools, and I'm a proud Rufus King graduate from 19th and Capitol. So if anybody can start criticizing these things, I'm just going to say it's me. And the only candidates that deserve any criticism for the school that they attended for law school are Jennifer Darrow and Dan Kelly. I just don't think anybody should want that much enmeshment between religious studies and the study of law in this country, because at least on some level, we're trying to be a secular democracy.
Doesn't Bucky have you pray to start your law school classes?
For 15 minutes before every class. If they had their way, Maggie, that's exactly how it would be. Maggie, Daun, stick around. Our friend coming right back.
I spend a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. And in 09, it was sparks from me, your chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
It's scary. Maybe I'm coming a little bit more left, but...
Well, it's not left. It's good governance, Dave.
It's good to be exposed to different ideas, and I do appreciate that you do put that out there on the airways, because a lot of times where you just get a little soundbite of this or a little bit of that, and that's the end of it. You're to be commended for that.
Dave, I'm glad you finally come around to commending the greatest radio show ever, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. 18 tonight, under clear skies, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. A blend of clouds and sun tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 38. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow night, lows dip down to about 28. Low 40s Sunday, mid 30s Monday, with a chance for snow. A dusting of snow Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 22 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Maggie, Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, our guest, sticking around for another segment. Crew, do you got something to say?
I do. I've got new reporting from Dan Bice, the favored muckraker of the Journal Sentinel. Dan Bice is alleging through his writing and reporting today that former Supreme Court Justice Dan Kelly was employed by the Republican Party and the Republican National Committee to the tune of $120,000. And Andrew Hitt, the former Republican Party chair, said in a sworn deposition to the House Committee last year on January 6th that he and Kelly had pretty extensive conversations about the fake elector scheme. Kelly was serving as the party's special counsel at the time. So apparently Dan Kelly is all down for the coup d'etat, the procedural
Is the insinuation
coup.
that Dan Kelly blessed the fraudulent elector scheme? Is that what he's saying?
I had brought him in on Wisconsin to kind of help with. He's from Wisconsin, he'd said of Kelly in his testimony. I brought him to kind of advise on election law matters, understanding they were breaking election law at the time.
Right. Right.
A little bit more. Anything more? I'll keep reading. You chit chat with my girl, Maggie Daun. Maggie, what's your first impression to the breaking?
Right, like please, somebody find the cut of Dan Kelly's ad that's like, we need a constitutionalist on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and then like cut right to the point where they're like, yeah, so us January 6th violent insurrectionists, we're looking for someone, some patsy here in Wisconsin to help us try to put a little fig leaf of legal legitimacy on our crackpot insurrectionist legal theories that no actual lawyer like worth their salt would ever put their name on, right? I mean, now we know that Tucker Carlson was calling Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, and Sidney Powell like crackpots and completely crazy people. And if Tucker Carlson is calling your legal theories wingnut and crackpot and that you shouldn't be put on the air, yeah, you're probably out there a little bit. So yes, the strict constitutionalist, Dan Kelly, equals violent insurrection and complete legal fabrications. Yeah, that makes you qualified. Put him back on the Supreme Court.
Well, and I mean, this whole Dominion lawsuit, it's all over the news with Dominion and Fox News. And these quotes, these communications texts and whatnot back and forth between the hosts of Fox News, talking about Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. She's crazy. He's crazy. This is terrible. I mean, it is. But then they go on. Then they go on in front of the cameras, and they don't say those things. You know?
And defend the ideas, Dom. It's not even not saying what they believe. It's saying the exact opposite. It is they were engaged in active daily lies to the American public, whom they must think are the stupidest people on the planet, right? Like if I was a Fox News viewer and believed any of that and read any of the text messages, I would be so angry because there's nothing that they can stand behind to say like, well, I sort of thought that then, but know better now. No, like there's two pieces of news this week that I think are game changing and aren't getting, frankly, talked about enough. And that one, this is what we're talking about right now, Dominic, the Fox News Dominion lawsuit and the discovery bomb that Dominion has. And that's all of these communications. They need to meet the standard, which is very high, of actual malice to put forward a claim for libel or slander and make it collectible on. And I think they've made a prima facie case, at least enough to go to a jury on because of these text messages. So that's huge news point one. And that is every conservative, every single one of them, to a rule, knew that what was being said was a lie, was insane, that they were engaged in a knowing but uncoordinated conspiracy to lie to the American people, and it resulted in a violent insurrection on January 6th. That's big piece of news one. Big piece of news two is the day after Trump leaves the White House, Jared Kushner creates a private equity fund, and the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund gives him it's like $2 billion a year to manage, which will pay Jared Kushner $25 million a year, even though the very people the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund hired to vet their investments wrote in a document which is now public that Jared Kushner's private equity fund was totally unqualified with no history of any returns and doesn't meet any of the Sovereign Wealth Fund's requirements of an investment manager. And they gave him the $2 billion anyways. I don't know, Hunter Biden's laptop? Sure, let's talk about that.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Maggie, Daun, I know, but this has not been, I mean, maybe there's some new news with this particular release, but we know that Jared Kushner was not qualified to run any sort of fund. We know that he got the $2 billion. I mean, so I can't believe, what are you so mad about, Maggie?
Here's why. We have the literal receipts, as the kiddies like to say now, right? We have the document from the Sovereign Wealth Fund's own internal due diligence team. That's new because I think to cut through some of this baloney, it can't be like, yeah, it's a duck because it's got web feet, feathers, and quacks. Like people, they're all Judases, right? It's like they don't believe it, even though it's right in front of their eyes. So here are the receipts. Here's the document that says, we have never given money to anyone with anyone with as few qualifications as Jared Kushner. And then 2 weeks later, the vote changes because MBS got involved, and now Jared Kushner is $2 billion that he can basically fritter away and earn $25 million a year. I mean, we've got the receipt. I think the same thing is true in the Fox and Dominion lawsuit. We've got the receipts. You cannot deny that Tucker Carlson, Lawyer Ingram, all of them, Fox executives, including Rupert Murdoch, who's like, hey, could we maybe get sued over this, you guys? Is this problematic?
Lou
Right?
Dobbs,
We've got
Lou
them all saying to quiet turtle down. Yep.
They said Lou Dobbs that North Korea was more nuanced than Lou Dobbs. I mean, this is friendly fire from the inside, Maggie.
100%.
Have a wonderful weekend. Always great to have you come around on the Devil's Advocates. Got to get you back on Dawn of the Resistance. People love that show. They miss that show. They want more of that show. Maggie, we'll catch up real soon.
I'll see you
Thanks,
soon.
guys.
The happier happy hour, it rolls on. It's Friday. We party up in here. Your grievances could be next. 844-96-PARTY.
Your official home of Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, featuring Packers legend Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. Saturdays and Sundays at 1 on Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. Federal prosecutors announcing they've filed hate crime charges against a suspect arrested for shooting 2 Jewish men in separate attacks outside synagogues this week. U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada identified the suspect as 28-year-old Jamie Tran. In court filings, prosecutors allege Tran targeted the men because of their religion.
Because the complaint contains allegations that Tran attempted to murder the 2 victims, he faces a statutory maximum sentence of life imprisonment.
2 victims recovering from their injuries. In Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine saying agencies are still testing air and water after that hazardous chemical train derailment in East Palestine just over 2 weeks ago. He says air and water samples are free from contaminants due to the train derailment. Limited flights set to resume tomorrow at JFK's International Terminal 1 following 2 days of power outages. Flights from that terminal were diverted to other gates due to the outage. This is ABC News.
Continue the conversation online. Find and follow Civic Media on Facebook and on Twitter.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News Radio. There's a line President Joe Biden likes to use. Don't tell me your values. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you your values. You look at what Governor Tony Evers just proposed for a state budget, and you see he values kids, their education, their health and well-being. He values Main Street businesses, rural internet access, attracting young families to live and work here, and tax cuts for most of us. Republicans said it was a budget devoid of reality, but here's the reality. Republicans took most of last year off as a paid vacation because, in their view, life is good enough for them and their donors, and if other problems don't get solved or other opportunities are lost, so what? They've sat on billions of dollars in surplus that could already be helping Wisconsin kids, businesses, and workers. But that would mean they'd have to show up for work as well. Join me for Up North News Radio, weekday mornings, 6 to 8.
Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm Charlie Barons, inviting you to join me Saturdays and or Sundays at noon. It's a horse apiece, whatever you decide. We're doing the Cripes Cast, where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest, and it's more fun than a 6-pack of Jolly Good. Okay, the pride of Random Lake, that Jolly Good is. Anyway, it's on your Civic Media station and the Civic Media app. And do me a favor, tell your folks I says hi. Okay, real good.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
You recall the Capitol insurrection? A post-ABC News poll showed 54% said Trump should be criminally charged for inciting the riot. That's like a litany of criminal allegations against the former president. You can say it's all partisanship and a witch hunt, but there wasn't one credible accusation against Obama during his entire 8-year term. So how Republicans just ignore all the evidence? I mean, he was perpetrating a coup on multiple levels.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Veterans, whatever you're going through, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
the Devil's Advocates. Because freedom.
Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, rolling through the happy hour. What a tremendous show we've had so far. We had former Wisconsin State Senator, Republican, twice elected Majority Leader Dale Schultz. We had the CEO of Civic Media, my partner, Sage Weil, making really, really big announcements on behalf of the corporation. We've expanded. We've built the Death Star. The network is complete, baby, within about 60 business days. Once the FCC blesses. Civic Media moving into the Eau Claire market, the La Crosse market, one more FM in the Oshkosh market, and the Packers in the southern Milwaukee metro. Did I mention we got Gilbert Brown working around here these days?
Yeah, man.
The newest Under the Helmet with Gilbert Brown, the Gravedigger, and our pal Earl Ingram. That plays out tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the Civic Media Network. Our other fine, less political sort kind of guy, Charlie Barron's, the Cripes Cast, going off a brand new one at noon tomorrow. And for you Badger fans, and isn't it all of us? The Badgers have a tip-off tomorrow at 11 against Rutgers. They're playing well. They beat Michigan the other day.
Even after all the trash talking.
And Marquette, we are your Marquette station in two different marketplaces. Marquette's playing quite well. They won a tip in the other night. They're in the top 10, top 15-ish.
Yeah, top 10.
Badgers hope to work into the top 10 of the Big Ten right now. They're trying to work their way back in. Positioning for the tournament. And you can position on the phones at 844-967-2789. We'll get there in a minute. Norman, if you're patient for like 2 more minutes, dude, you've been a champ. You'll go first. But Dom, I got to continue this conversation. The Dominion, the Fox News filing that Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, was referencing. A headline here, scandalous. Sort of the Cliff Notes version of what the Washington Post media critic Eric Wimple is currently reporting. And he found himself astonished by the air quotes scandalous information the lawyers representing Dominion voting systems have unearthed in their lawsuit against Foxy News. Writing on Twitter, Wimple highlighted internal messages sent to Fox News hosts where they privately bashed the conspiracy theories. They were bashing the stop the steal theories of the former President Donald Trump and his allies, even as they lent credence to those theories on their own shows. Those duplicitous, defaming sons of guns. Here's one, Dom. Sidney Powell is a bit nuts, said Fox News host Laura Ingraham of the lawyer that claimed the dead Venezuelan strongman Hugo Chavez conspired with Dominion to steal the election from Trump. Which part of that statement's a little bit nuts, do you think, Laura? Sidney Powell is lying, wrote Tucker Carlson in his separate message. However, Wimple noted that there was a simple reason that Fox News hosts would not air these views on their own shows. They feared their viewers would simply turn on Newsmax or another right-wing cable news station that would tell them what they wanted to hear. When Fox News reporter Jackie Heinrich fact-checked a Trump tweet with false claims about Dominion voting systems, for example, Carlson told host Sean Hannity, please get her fired because her tweet is measurably hurting the company. And what he meant by that, Dom, was freaking stock price.
Please get her fired. Seriously, what the F? I'm actually shocked. It needs to stop immediately. Like tonight is measurably hurting the company. The stock price is down. Not a joke.
I think they're in real trouble.
You'd
like to see some of the other right-wing outlets that spun these stop the steal sort of efforts, these fraudulent allegations that they made on the radio. I'm looking at you, Dan O'Donnell. You were the liar in chief on this stop the steal movement, were you not? Hell, were you not the invited witness by Dom's girl Janelle Branchen, the Assembly Elections Committee? I remember being in the Capitol, Dom, in the Wisconsin Capitol during a lockdown, during a pandemic, and they were playing the testimony, what I allege would be false, perhaps even defaming testimony of Dan O'Donnell. When's he going to get frickin' sued? Just asking for a friend.
Just asking questions.
844-967-2789. The incredibly patient Norman from Orfordville. How you doing, Norm?
Hey, Norman.
Hey, I'm doing great, Crudy. I was going to give a compliment to Sage when he was there, but that was a half hour ago.
He's listening. He's in the building. I got him.
Good. Well,
I got him a
well,
spotted
anyway,
cow. It's going to take him at least that long to finish it.
Hey, I just put a few fingers of vodka in a glass myself, so I mean it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, it's Friday, baby.
Yeah. Hey, but I'll turn my compliment into a grievance, okay? When are you going to get a signal to me down here in Orfordville? I'm in a radio desert.
Where's Orfordville exactly? What's nearest? Nearest city?
It's just west of Footville.
Where?
It's just west of Footville.
No, come on, man. Give me a county or a direction. I've heard of it.
It's Rock County.
It's what, west of
35 miles
Janesville.
south of Madison.
I would say, and I would give this advice to anyone that listens to my voice right now. I would always start with 540 a.m. I'm telling you, Norman, if you listen to the Shaw signal, the 540 a.m. WAUK signal, that dips all the way into like Janesville, into Rock County. Clear signal, not faking it over there. So go try the 540 and drink some more vodka, grumpy old man. 844. Nice. Come on, can't talk trash.
Come on, man.
We
Thanks,
just
Norman.
made the Death Star. And he's like,
I know, man.
You know, there's
People
a
want
hole
more.
in the
They get
Death
a little
Star.
bit. They want some more, man.
There's a hole in the Death Star, our weak spot, apparently, Orfordville.
There's a hole in the blanket, man. We gotta patch the blanket.
I didn't even know there was an Orfordville. No, I did, but I didn't know exactly where it was. I'm learning. I've learned so much about geography of the great state of Wisconsin this summer. Driving around, listening to radio signals, all the local, whatever. Never tuned in Orfordville. I'll admit it. It's hard to find a station there worth listening to. Get the Civic Media app, man. What do you want from me? The original Claire. How you doing, Claire?
Hey, Claire.
Hi, Devils.
How you doing, Claire?
I'm good. Congratulations, Crudy.
Well,
and Daun,
congrats to
too.
us all. We're all growing, aren't we?
Yeah.
Thank you, Claire.
This is exciting.
The community is
Very,
growing.
very
Our
cool.
friends. Like it's a bigger party now. You know, when you throw a good party, aren't you always just a little more excited when you show up at a party and you're like, man, this one's a rager. All my friends are here.
Oh,
well, Claire, now we're making all
betcha,
kinds of new
Dave.
friends.
You're going to have a big bash somewhere.
I'm having one in the studio right now, Claire. I wish you were here. No, we're going to continue. I mean, you know how Daun and I do it. We're going to party. Girl, you know we're going to party.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know,
I
the
wanted to
weather's
tell
got to
ya.
turn warmer, then we'll party. Sometime after the spring primary, because all our focus mostly is on building the network and winning the Wisconsin Supreme Court in the soul of the state of Wisconsin. That's where all our efforts are right now, Claire.
And I did vote today.
Oh,
I absentee
excellent.
voted today.
Do you
And
care
I
to?
did not vote for Dan Kelly.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Thankfully,
I'm
Claire, I
sorry
keep
to
hearing those
disappoint
messages.
you.
But you know he's the true constitutional conservative, Claire.
He's the one that helped arrange the false Trump electors, according to the Dan Bice reporting.
Yes, some
and the
breaking news.
testimony of Andrew
Yeah,
Hitt
how
to the
about that?
January 6th committee. That's just the sort of guy you
Darn,
want in the
maybe I can-
Supreme Court, the guy that would rationalize away the Constitution.
Maybe I could redo my vote.
That should have been your guy, Claire. 844. Have a wonderful weekend, Claire. Thanks for joining us. Want to get to lots of nice people at 844-967-2789. Better not be some more Rock County trash talking, Rico. How you doing, man?
Hey, Rico.
Hey, doing all right. Hey, dude, over in Orfordville, you just got to get the Civic Media app, man, and sometimes you can get that beast.
What
in
about
the
the-
east,
what
but
about the-
maybe not all the time.
Well, then I would sell my house and move closer to the signal.
I put a 40-foot antenna up, remember?
Oh, yeah, you're that guy, Rico.
Put a bigger antenna up. Put a bigger antenna up, dude.
Problem solved, right?
Or more
Yeah.
or more cavities and more fillings in your teeth. Either way, you'll get better reception. But Rico, you probably have a grievance this Friday, man. Lay it on us, fella.
Well, I don't really have a grievance. I just want to add a kind of a compliment. I mean, I wanted to commend Maggie on bringing up this handling of the Darrell Brooks parade case. I think old Miss Doro, Jennifer Doro, decided, she was going to hang her hat on this thing, and you got to wonder, if it wasn't for that, would she really even be in this race?
No, that's her only claim to fame. Almost exclusively Rico.
Well, that and her and her husband opening up a gun range bar / wedding venue.
But Rico, the only reason she is in the race is because she was encouraged to join the race because Dan Kelly is so unappealing, even to his own party. People recognize Dan Kelly's a big loser. Outside the apparent insurrection work he did for the Republicans and the RNC, I mean, the guy got beat by 163,000 votes 2 years ago. Is he going to do better this time? I don't think so.
I don't think so, no. But, this whole thing with the handling of the Darrell Brooks case, am I on or off the air here?
You're on.
This whole handling of it. Okay, this whole handling of this now, just, I'm glad Maggie brought it up. I think I brought it up a month ago and got Maggie started on kind of the question with the change of venue, and I'm glad she took it right to where she did, because that's where I was hoping that conversation went.
Rico, Maggie Daun takes all her legal advice on venue from you in Rock County.
Yeah.
Should have moved it down there. Buddy, we got lots of people jammed up. Want to keep moving on the phones. Appreciate you listening. 844-967-2789. Gene from North Carolina, Tar Heel Country. Welcome, Gene. What do you got for us?
Hi, Gene.
Hey, hi. Congratulations, you guys. I was turned on to you guys about 3 months ago. I grew up in Wisconsin. And I am just loving your station so much. You guys are intelligent. You're funny as hell. And we needed a progressive radio station in the worst way.
What part of North Carolina do you live in? Where are you at in Carolina?
I live in the southwestern part of the state. So we border on Georgia and then Tennessee as well.
Okay, so like down by Asheville or farther south than that?
Yeah. Asheville, yeah.
There used to be a progressive radio station.
Right near Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, unfortunately.
No. Well, you're also in Mark Meadows' district and Madison Cawthorn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jeannie,
my God. Yeah.
Gene, you picked a bad district.
Didn't make it. I know I did. I mean, I know. I didn't even want to come here because it's so chumpy, but here I am.
Gene, you keep listening. We'll try to keep you sane and honest, but I got to tell you, you picked a hell of a terrible district. when your legacy is Mark Meadows and Madison Cawthorn, beautiful part of the state of North Carolina.
That just goes to show you that they need some love and attention, man. They need a hug. They need the Civic Media warm blanket, man. They weren't
Death
always
Star.
that way. You just got to bring them along.
I prefer Death Star. You met my DNA daddy, Chuck.
Yeah.
He's living across the border in Tennessee. He's in, I forget what they call it, Whitesburg. The unfortunately named Whitesburg.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Tennessee. It does seem about right. I think he's probably proud of me, though, in that I've unwrapped the devil wagon. I drove it down to Tennessee. He wouldn't even get in the car with me and my kids going to town. Like, oh, man, we got a church on every corner here. But I further disappointed him. And I told him, the good news is I don't give a damn if you're disappointed. You're not my real daddy. Well, maybe he is, but you know what I mean. He didn't raise me or anything, so I don't care if he's disappointed. But my newest outrage for DNA Daddy Chuck.
What's that?
I killed the devil radio, and I put up my new Facebook, top of the page. Jesus hates the Cubs. Go Brewers. And as a Cardinals fan, I thought he would appreciate the sentiment, but apparently a little too Jesus-y.
No.
More of us, come back.
Didn't work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Jenny.
It's up to all of us. It's not just up to Democrats. Are we ready to rid our country of this perversion and deception? You know, are we sick of massacres at churches, grocery stores, theaters, concerts? Are we sick of adults forcing children who are raped into pregnancy? When is enough that we're going to vote out those fascists?
I'm putting you down for Caller Hall of Fame today. We have to carry these messages, even if the Democratic Party is incapable. You keep it up, sister.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
You know, I grew up hearing that women are bad with money. But like many of you, I spent years paying bills, managing checking accounts, and taking care of my family. So, turns out women are pretty good with money after all. And now, I'm taking control of my financial future by saving for retirement. It's never too late to start, and there's a great website to help you. Check out WeSaySaveIt.org and jumpstart your retirement savings on your budget and your timeline. That's WeSaySaveIt.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows level off around 17 tonight. Under clear skies, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. High of 38 tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Lows dip down to about 28 tomorrow night, cloudy skies. Overcast skies Sunday with daytime highs approaching 41. 36, chance of snow Monday. A dusting of snow Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 22 degrees.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now, 844-967-2789.
Mrs. Curdy said, great show today. I've stayed awake through the entirety of it.
Great. Excellent compliment. Appreciate it. Lee from Madison, you are up. Welcome, Lee. What do you got for us?
Hey, Lee.
I want to comment on this, the right-wing thing about we don't want abortion, but they don't want to prevent guns only because they need more kids to shoot at in the elementary schools, in the high school.
Terrible.
Come on, man.
That's
a harsh assessment, Lee.
We need more targets. You can't have abortions. We need more targets.
Oh,
damn,
brutal, Lee. That's brutal, man.
That is quite a grievance. 844-967-2789. Lots of you with your Friday grievances, like Mary from Tosa. Welcome, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Crude and Dom. No grievance here. Rather, kudos for you and Civic Radio. And it's based on a quote that I heard recently that brought you to mind. And the quote is by Vladimir Putin. And he said, once he had the media, he had the people. And so I think we all know that, you know, the phenomenal growth that Devil's Radio and Civic Media have had recently, you know, are moving ahead with this. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you, Mary.
The Death Star, or fuzzy warm blanket, depending on your perspective, is nearly complete. It will be complete this quarter.
Credibility matters. A lot of the conversation we've talked about today, you know, the Fox News Dominion thing. You have journalists up there, and we talked about some of the right-wing talk radio hosts here in the state of Wisconsin, saying one thing in private and then saying an entirely different thing in public. For what? For ratings, for money. And I get it, you know. But would they really lose that much? I mean, is Mike Lindell not going to sell his pillows on Fox News if they just didn't go along to the nth degree with this fraud?
I'm telling you, Dom, in Milwaukee, which is the best right-wing talk radio marketplace, AM talk radio marketplace in the nation, between the hard right and the center right stations, they pull a 20 share. That's enormous. Trust me, I'm a radio geek. That's enormous. But the ratings of right-wing talk radio, the hard right station, the it was rigged. They stole it from us. The Trump support of Stop the Steal, the place that hosts Dan O'Donnell, their ratings nearly doubled in the month of January. The difference being nobody wanted to hear that Joe Biden was the duly elected president of the United States. But when the January 6th kicked off, when they blew it all up, when they went full insurrectionist, full coup, since that time, right-wing talk radio has doubled their ratings, Dom. Doubled.
Wow.
So when you talk about doubling your ratings, you've probably more than doubled your advertising revenues because it starts to be a really big number. So this is misleading the audience for fun and profit. And if you go lone wolf and shoot something up, well, damn it, that's the price of profit. But I don't believe that they believe. Maybe Vicky. But Dan O'Donnell's an attorney in his own regard. Dan O'Donnell knows when he's lying, but he does it anyways. 844-967-2789. Chrissy from Madison, welcome.
Hey, Dom and Cruz.
Hey, Chrissy.
Hi. So, what do you think of what happened this week with our overhead guests?
With our what?
Our UFOs.
Well, my understanding,
the balloons,
the one that was shot down over Lake Huron, and all credit to Todd Alba. He had the Brigadier General, the head of the Wisconsin Air National Guard, as an exclusive in-studio guest in the Solidarity Realty Studios earlier today, and didn't really, break any big news. But my understanding is the UFO was a ham radio club of the UP, and the balloon was not quite large. So when they used a $400,000 missile to shoot down like a hefty bag full of helium, and then they missed and they used another one.
So let's talk about this.
It seems a little troubling, Chrissy, but yes, let's talk.
I agree. Let's talk about this. So I see this week as being a way of both parties coming together. I don't know if you've seen that people, Senator Warren and Rubio, they all signed a bunch of a form to get a new UFO task force out there. And of course, what else I'm going to tell you, Crudy. I told you I wanted to be interviewed, but I have seen a UFO 45 feet over my head here in Madison, and it was a craft. Unless you've already shut me off, I don't know.
No, you're still here, Chrissy. What was? Hey, I've seen UFOs when I was in college, so I'm with you. What was the shape?
Good. All right. It was an almond shape, and it was 20 feet over my 3-story apartment building. It was about 60 feet wide by 30 feet wide. It was black. It was moving in the shape of the ship, meaning I did not see an edge. I saw the propulsion on this thing, and it had 5 rectangle lights on it that I saw, and it went right over my head, 22 miles an hour, 5 seconds. And it was pure silence. I swear, I live near Bridge Road and the Beltline, and for those 5 seconds, it went completely silent. It hit my heart. It was so silent. I have tinnitus. It took away the tinnitus. And this thing just was so amazing to see. I wasn't scared or anything. It just was amazing. And
that's crazy.
It is. And you know what? There's UFO Twitter out there. People are seeing things left and right. I haven't met anyone that has seen one 45 feet over my head yet, or their head yet, but I hope to meet some. I'm going to go to Roswell next month.
I mean, Chrissy, the Pentagon is releasing video of things that they don't know what it is, and weird shapes and movements. So, I mean, it's out there, and hopefully we'll get some clarity as time moves on. Thanks for the call, Chrissy.
The truth, it's out there, Tom. What do you think the truth is?
What's the truth?
Yeah,
we're not alone, Crudy. We got Annie from Watertown. Hey, Annie, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Annie, how you doing, sister?
Oh, ¿cómo está? I thought that was sort of a good idea to, Cinco de Mayo, whatever. But maybe I should say Patu Barado Nixo. If you remember.
Are you auditioning for our new humorous Latino show? Because that's not the sort of aliens that Daun was referencing.
Or that Colorado Nickel. What's the movie that's from? Where the spaceship comes down. Michael Rennie. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's Friday. We're going to call her quits.
We're going to call it.
Thank you all for listening. Our fine guests today included Maggie, Daun, Weil, CEO of Civic Media, and of course, former State Senator Dale Schultz. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening to our show. Don't forget, Pizza Box Mike, a sad edition this evening at 7 o'clock, and Native Roots Radio Badgers at 11, Charlie Barons at noon, and Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Keep it locked, Civic Media. We're going worldwide, baby.
Hey, Brad from Zero Res Madison.